At bottom, I don't really think that the gospel authors are doing anything that we don't continue to do today. They are going back to older texts, and they are reappropriating those old texts for their present circumstances. They're using these older texts to help them articulate the theological significance of their own present moment. And every Bible reading, Bible engaging community today continues to do the same thing. We go back to old texts, not just in the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament, but now to the New Testament. We go back to these texts as Christian communities at least, and we find ways to reappropriate these texts for our present circumstances. We say, this text speaks to me today in this particular way. And I think, in going through this series of videos about Isaiah 7:14, I think part of the overarching problem is that people want to be able to say that the way that they are reappropriating text for the present day has always been what the text is about. So they don't want to give up on the subjectivity, or perhaps the relative to their community. They don't want to give up on the relativity of this interpretive action, this interpretive choice. They want to find some way to say, well, Isaiah 7:14 was always about Jesus all along, and so when I say it's about Jesus, that's what it meant, right? I am bringing the text to its most completed state by recognizing that this is what it's always been about. They don't want to give up on the fact that what they're doing is that they're just taking a text and they're making it about themselves. The text has always been about what it was originally about, and they just don't want to concede that they're interpreting it relative to their own community at the time. But that's exactly what they're doing. That's what we're doing today. That's what the Gospel of Matthew is doing for his community. That's what everybody who engages with the Bible is ever doing. The way I like to think about this, I got this from a womanist New Testament scholar named Love Seacrest. She calls it rhyming. And I like that way of thinking about it, because when we talk about like fulfilling prophecy or things like that, those are claims about the text. That's making a claim that the text was always meant to be this way. But when you talk about it in terms of rhyming, you're really just saying, to me, this old text sounds like something that's happening now in my present circumstances. And that's on you, right? That's a subjective, you're saying in your perception, to you, these sound the same. That's what I think Matthew is doing. Matthew reads this old text. In this old text, this young woman gives birth to a child, and it causes everyone to say, "Oh, Emmanuel, God is with us." And then in their own present circumstances, oh, look, this young woman has given birth to a child, and now we're all saying again, Emmanuel, God is with us. It's a very different kind of young woman giving birth to a child, and people saying Emmanuel. It doesn't mean exactly the same thing, but it sounds the same, or sounds the same enough to the author of the Gospel of Matthew. It rhymes to him, these two passages. Now, Love Seacrest's work on this is more specific to the New Testament. She's saying that these things in the New Testament rhyme with our present circumstances today. But I think the principle, and especially the terminology, is very helpful no matter who we're talking about, is appropriating old biblical texts. So I think it's okay to use this term to talk about, New Testament authors citing the Hebrew Bible. But that's the way I like to think about it. When we go, if you're in a Christian community and you go back to a New Testament text and you're like, this principle or this character, this situation, that seems similar to something that's happening today, you're saying that rhymes. It sounds the same to me. And this is a way of enriching your vocabulary in the present moment. This is a way of allowing the Bible to influence the way that you describe the meaning of a present event. And in so doing, you connect yourself to, biblical history and to everybody else who has ever gone back to the biblical text in search of meaning. And so it gives you an immediate sense that you are connected to something bigger than yourself. You're connected to this, trans-historical, trans-cultural, trans-linguistic phenomenon of people who engaged with the Bible and made it and used it to make their life more meaningful. So that's what I think Matthew is doing. Matthew has somebody in his community, perhaps he himself, whoever the author is, has had an extraordinary experience, and they're trying to give voice to the significance of that extraordinary experience and these traditions that they've received and perhaps in part participated in with the life and ministry and death of Jesus. And just like today, if we were to, something big happens and we're trying to figure out how best to describe it, and we're in a religious community, we're going to open up our texts, our sacred texts, this collection of language that we share in common, and we're going to use that language to help us articulate the significance of that event. And perhaps we will find rhymes too. Matthew found this, it rhymes. But what Matthew doesn't mean, or at least he can't mean, even if for some bizarre reason this is what he was trying to say, he can't possibly mean that Jesus meets all the predictive prophetic requirements of Isaiah 7:14 and following. Right, I gave the example in a couple of videos ago about how Matthew treats Hosea chapter 11 verse 1. He also uses the word fulfill there. Jesus has fulfilled that, even though that's not prophetic, that's not predictive, there are no criteria for Jesus to fulfill. It's just, it rhymes. Out of Egypt I called my son. Rhymes with Jesus comes up out of Egypt. Right? It's not prophetic fulfillment, it's rhyme. They sound the same to him in his context.